what we try to do here at Bluebeam is try to lengthen the time you can use those PDFs for instead of having to go back to the model. And in the construction field, they leverage PDF. They leverage the heck out of the PDF. So what I'm going to do right now is just output a few sheets from this model and show you a couple of the tricks and tips we've built into being able to manage a few sheets.
Yeah, hot link. Yeah, we got it.
Do you have extreme load?
Yeah, that hot link is awesome, isn't it? Oh,
yeah, you do.
Why didn't you do this 10 years ago?
10 years ago. So, as we're outputting these PDFs, one of the things that we get used to working in Revit in the environment especially is being able to go from elevations in a plan view of the elevation tag, going right to elevation view, or sections going right to the section view. And we get used to that, right? Go to view and just double click on it, and it takes us right there. In PDF before, that was just a bear to have to manually set that up. So what we've got now is the ability to automate that process. And what that process entails is basically creating something like a sheet list. Oh, I got audio. Awesome. Like a sheet list, like your index sheet, and be able to do something very simple, like create a hyperlink for all the different sheets. So one of the first steps that we would do is we want to call all of our sheets by the actual drawing number and the drawing title. So wherever we collect these PDFs from, whether we created them, we get them from consultants, and so on and so forth, we want to make sure that this sheet name right here corresponds with the drawing number. So we can go in here and we can manually go through this process. How many people have done this before? Going through and manually numbering. Yep, I know who you are. I've done it too. With Bluebeam, you've got this little button up here in the thumbnails tab to be able to create your page labels. In PDF terms, that's your page label. So I'm going to select a page region and say I want this page region to be my page label. But at the same time, I just don't want page number. I want to actually see the drawing title also. So I'm going to take that sheet number also and put it in there. So instead of going through and manually doing every single one of those, the program just did that for me. So I've got all those created instantly for me. As you can see in the left panel here, wow, they're all assembled.
Did anybody just get excited over that?
You can do that same thing with bookmarks or what we see. Instead of keeping the PDF file as like 10, 20, 50 sheets deep, people want to see those individually. And there's a few pros and cons out there, but majority of them are for mobility reasons. You don't want to carry a 50-sheet PDF file. You'd rather just have one sheet per file, because that makes it light and lean to be able to manage. Now, one person hogs the entire set. They're only using one page instead of all the pages in the set. So again, that used to be a long process of right-click, extract each page individually, blah, blah, blah. Now we can say extract each page as a separate file and use that page label that we just created to rename all our files. So we don't get 1.pdf, 2.pdf, 3.pdf. We actually get A100 underscore floor plan X, all those different page labels we just put on there.
Stu, is that done through text recognition?
OCR?
So if we had plans that were scanned in 10 years ago and now they're in PDF, and could we load it up on this and it could work?
Yeah, you'd have to have the page label identified. With the AutoMark feature that we have, we are able to recognize text through an OCR.
So that would be possible?
That's what it's doing.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it's doing.
Cool.
So,
only with the not with CAD.
What?
AutoMark is
independent
with all of them. Yeah. AutoMark works.
Bluebeam doesn't know what software you created it out of, or it doesn't care.
No, he's talking
doesn't
about
care.
Bluebeam CAD or Bluebeam Express.
Version.
What version?
So I just extracted all these pages. I've now got one single PDF. Doesn't really help me. What I really want to do is be able to click through all those details and all those numbers like I was able to do in the model before. So this feature now that we've got available in 12, and this is in the extreme version, is the ability to do this batch link. And this batch link allows you to select, let's see here, a bunch of files. Yeah, it's all over your desktop, man. All over your
My
desktop.
Look at all that crap.
So I'm just gonna do a handful of files
No
here.
files on my desktop.
And what I really want to do is have this ability to link from one detail to the actual sheet, similar to the experience that I have in Revit itself. So what I'm doing is I just set that page region again, just to say, hey, look for this drawing number throughout all these PDFs that I just selected. And while you're doing that, I want to see which references are there and which ones are not there. I've got 2 references pointing to A202, so I'm just going to get rid of one. And basically this generated a sheet list, a terms. It's going to go now and look for all the links. So every single detail it sees for an elevation, A300, it's going to point that detail to the appropriate sheet. You can highlight these links, whatever you want. Just color it with a little yellow, and off it goes. Sure. So now instead of having, we're wrapping up. Instead of having to manually go through a folder and look for files, what I've got now is the ability to go back to an index sheet, and I highlight them just so people know, hey, there's something here, click on it. So click on it, it takes you to that sheet. If there's any details you want to go to, it takes you to that sheet. Any sections you want to go to, it takes you to that sheet. So it's just a really simple way to navigate through those PDFs instead of having to go back to the original Revit project.
It's your time, man. You can ask all the
So-
questions you want.
Seating up in your time.
It's coming out of your time, coming out of your pay, Dan.
So
That is awesome.
quick overview, a lot more.
I do.
I wanna make sure you have plenty of time.
I know. I'm going to ask you because
Hit.
for everyone.
All right.
Can you do this when you first create the sheet set with this hot link, or do you have to do it after you create the sheet set?
Yeah, the batch link is after you have the PDFs. Yeah.
Unless you have Sundial.
That's a great question. We'll see what comes out. Yeah.
Go look at Sundial. It's on the web.
Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Sundial is Revit beta, by the way. If anybody has never participated in a beta, that is where you get to play with the software before it's released, and you get to send your comments and suggestions and bug reports and all of that, and actually help the software. Revit's, for the first time, is on the web, free and open for everybody. It is called Sundial. Go Google, although that's I could probably get sued for saying Google. So go Google Revit Sundial. Install it. You're off and running with the newest version. Go check out what's new and have some fun.
All right.
Thank you very much, Stuart. Wonderful. So next up, Troy is going to give us the macro minute. I guess I'm walking too close to the camera. His macro minutes, and show some things. And just so everybody knows, and anybody out there that might be, Martin, if you're watching this online and you were just seeing me pantomime before, it was really something very nasty to you. So I'll give you a call or an email later and let you know all the strange things I was revealing about you. But welcome everybody now that we have our audio back online. And Troy Gates.
Sure, thank you. So I did a quick add-in this month. I'm going to show it, but I just wanted to let you guys know there is currently a event going on by Autodesk called the App Exchange App Hackathon, and they're asking people to submit apps for all of Autodesk software. I specifically focus on Revit, but if you have an idea for an app that you would like to see inside of Revit or an add-in, let me know so I can develop that during their app hackathon, and I can submit that as part of Larug to there, and then anybody in the world will be able to download that into Revit and use it. So if you have ideas, let me know and I'll see if it's possible for me to write that. Okay? So most of my presentation will be inside of Revit. So the add-on that is new, the concept, the concept came about as myself, I'm internal into a company, so I create add-ins in my company. Other companies have a developer in-house, they create add-ins for their company. Most time they end up creating their own company tab with all their tools. So I started thinking, well, what about all the companies that don't have someone in-house that can write their own tools for Revit? It would be nice if they had their own company tab that they could customize and put things on so that it was unique to their company. So I came up with this idea of creating a tab that allows you to put a few tools on a tab that's named after your company. So the name of the add-in is called Company Custom Tab. It's its own tab, and I have already pre-populated it with a few tools, but the main thing is there's this setup that allows you to come in and turn on and off a few buttons and customize those buttons towards your company. So the first one is...
No, you just keep working.
All right.
On, you're good.
So the first one is you can actually change the tab name to whatever you want. So I'm just going to use Bluebeam as our example since they're our host today. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to be able to change the tab name to Bluebeam. I can change, I have a button called Email Support. And this button is so that you can put in an email. So if you have an email support group within your company that people are supposed to email to get support for Revit, and they answer questions, things like that, you can put a custom email in here. And I'll just leave it as what it is right now, which is support@company.com. But I can also change what the button name is and give it a description. So if you hover your mouse over it, it drops down a quick description of what that button does. So we have quite a few in here. I'll just kind of run through them real quick. We have intranet, so if you have an internal website that you have, say, your standards or you have your projects on or whatever, you can put your internal website address there. You can put your Revit server admin interface on, so you can quickly jump from from Revit to a web browser to open up your admin interface, so you don't have to go open up it, type in the address, hit a bookmark, whatever. It just takes you right there. Then I also have a button that will quickly open up a file explorer and take you right into the folder that the current model that's viewing is in. If it's not a work shared file, then it's right where the file is. If it is a work shared file, it goes to where the central file is, which is usually on your project server. And then the last ones are, I gave you 10 buttons for 10 different websites that it's up to you to put in whatever websites you want. Put in Revit Forum, put in internal websites, Autodesk help support, subscription, whatever you want, Bluebeam, whatever you want. And the nice thing is you can go in here and turn on and off these buttons, get it set up how you want. Then you can come in and import or export. So I can export this file out, send it to everybody in the company. They import it in. All of their buttons now become exactly the same as what you set up. Now everybody has that all enabled. So just to show you how it works, so I did change the tab. I'm going to close out of Revit real quick and open it back up just so you can see the changes don't affect immediately. Revit doesn't allow you to change live the tab names or the buttons. So it takes effect the next time you open. So I'm just going to open up Revit again here real quick. And we now have a tab instead of that custom company tab. It's now called Bluebeam. So we renamed that tab. Let me open up a file real quick. And now on that Bluebeam tab, we now have custom tools that we can go open. So if I click on email, it would launch Outlook or whatever your default email client is, create an email with that address already in it. Company intranet would go to that page, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just going to open up this one just real quick to show you that the buttons do work. If I hit Bing, it just opens to whatever your default browser is and launches that website. Let's see, project folder, I'll just show that one real quick. If you click on it, you can see it jumped right to the folder where my file that I have open, it jumps right to there. So this is the concept behind it. I'm almost done with it. It's going to go, I'm going to submit it to the App Exchange store. But I wanted to show you guys so you guys can use it, but also if you have ideas for what you use in your company as a tool that everybody in your office should have, whether it's, you know, we need to always open a PDF that's our standards, or you know, we always go to something and we would like that accessible inside Revit, let me know and I'll add that as a feature to here so it's in there so that when you use it, you'll be able to customize that for yourself. So that's pretty much it. Anybody have questions or comments? Anything? I told you I'd be really fast, so. Anybody like it? Yeah? So, yeah.
Can we download it on the website?
It's not available yet. I'm not quite done with it yet. I've got some few bugs to squeeze out of it, but once I'm done with it, I can't put it up because I want to put it in the App Exchange store, so it'll take a couple of weeks for it to show up in there. But when it does, we'll email out to the group when it's available. Okay? All right. Jay next, or you?
Jay. Yeah.
You next? All right, get up there. You want 14 or 15? Because I have them both open right now.
Oh, the car?
I'll just close the file.
That thing?
Nah, no.
Flexibility?
I guess I don't know. How's that? We had the camera on you. I was showing you. How's that? Copy? Take that for a yes. Okay, so I just wanted to spend a couple minutes.
It's charging. No, I don't.
So, just kind of wanted to take a couple minutes, frankly, because I can, but it's the conversation is the beginnings of some classes, some presentations that I'm formulating, and really I'm looking for you guys to kind of, if there are any ideas that come up either now or later, kind of share them or raise them, and it's really talking about the practice for the future. Because when I get into architecture, it was pretty straightforward. We were drawing by hand. You drew what you needed. You didn't draw what you didn't need. You got the sets out the door as fast as you could. Everything was good. Then we had the whole CAD influx where we said, oh, XREF, copy, mirror, how awesome. Let's turn our sets from 100 sheets into 500 sheets. This will actually give us the ability to justify the money we want to charge, because we actually don't want to do the work, but we want to make it look like we do the work, right? And a lot of firms kind of worked with that philosophy. And in the transition from those old approaches, there's a new approach where we want to get back to that whole brevity of the hand drawing. I mean, I believe the Sears Tower was built on less than 100 sheets. Right? Could anybody imagine that? Doing a building of that size, scope, and detail on less than 100 sheets? If you can't conceptualize that, I would go seriously think about an insurance license. Because that's where we're heading in the future. Okay? Drawing things, modeling things that are not needed are a waste. And one of the big things I think is an industry. How many contractors, do we have any contractors here tonight? Not on the web, but, so we have a couple, great, awesome. The rest of us, engineers, architects, all the different kinds, show of hands. I mean, really? Only 2% of the people raise their hands? Right, so most of us architects, we have some academia, thank you for coming, Karen. Yes, we'll give you a minute at the end, or between us. You don't want to talk about it?
We're sold out.
You're already sold out, okay. So, at least what I've kind of moved towards seeing is that as an industry, the architecture, let's say the design end of the industry of AEC, has really been marginalizing itself for about arguably 40 years, right? You've seen the slide where the non-farm producing production is just creating waste and losing profit, and everybody else is making money. We're part of that losing money, and we've been on that down cycle since, if not the 1950s, the 1960s for sure. And that's before a lot of you guys, well, not me, but a lot of you guys were around, and we've just been plummeting ever since. And we know we have to get out of it, but how do we do it? Well, one of the kind of conversations that comes up that I think that is more and more been pointing how we get out of it is allowing us to let that which is in the past remain in the past. Or if we're dragging it like this luggage, this weight of burden on our back, to actually acknowledge it, take it off, put it back in the past, and then have a future to open up without this extra burden. One of the awesome things tonight is there's a couple people from my firm of all different strata at the firm, which is wonderful, and thank everybody for coming in addition to you guys. But one of the things that I like is they're going to get to hear this in a kind of hopefully different context. But the next time I hear, well, that's how we've always done it, so we're going to keep doing it that way, that's going to be the first time I murder somebody. So if I kill anybody, and I know this is being recorded, and that's the situation, you'll understand, oh, they said that. If anybody ever tells you, well, this is the way we've done it in the past, so we're going to continue doing it, to me, that is a dead person. And I mean that figuratively, because obviously they're alive to say it, but they're just that kind of dead inside, not learning, not pushing themselves. They just want to get home, slam on the TV, turn their brain off, have a couple scotches, get back to work tomorrow, and do the same thing again. And that's going to kill our industry. That is going to make the contractors out there hire an architect that has a stamp and a couple hotshot designers that know how to design, that know what a client budget is, that know what a client program is, and don't give them a building that's $30 million over budget.
Or buy the food.
What's that?
So it's already happening.
So the comment over here is that's already happening. So all of you architects and engineers, understand, if you're not taking advantage, by the way, Revit is over a decade old. There's other stuff coming. Okay? You're just implementing Revit. You still have a staff that would rather do projects in AutoCAD. I guarantee 30 to 40% of those firms will be gone in 20 years. You know how many firms died in the past 15 years after the slowdown and the fact that they weren't adept enough to do projects when the budgets were really low because of the economy? You know how many firms died? Gone. Bye-bye. A lot. I don't want to see that happen to us. I clearly don't want to see that happen to me, right? So I constantly push. And it's more than wanting to learn a software. It really doesn't have to do with software or a love of technology. It doesn't. It is purely a mindset of, I am on this planet. All I know, these are just personal thoughts here, okay? All I know that for as far as I can tell, I seem to be here. There are other cosmologists, not cosmetologists, cosmologists and physicists where we could have a different argument about, we can't really be sure and all of that. But, outside of that, I'm pretty sure I'm here. Pretty sure I exist. That's about all I know. I'm going to be on this planet for a short amount of time, and then one day I'm going to be gone, just like the thousands and millions and 4.5 billion years that the Earth has been here before I was here. And it's going to be about 4.5 billion years after I'm here. And people will be enjoying the party just the same. I just won't be, right? But while I'm here, I want it to be the best that I can possibly make it. And I think as an industry, we have to adopt that kind of a mindset where we can't be complacent. I just want to go to work and just sit in my cubicle and put on my headphones and be in my little silo. How many people work with people in BIM or Revit or virtual design and construction, and those people wear that, even if it might be you, that wear their headphones? Okay, you're all fired. You're fired from my firm, if I had one. Lucky I don't. You're locking yourself away. You're clipping 30% of your life away. You are not present in your life. I don't know how many times I've walked up to people, Marcelo, and it's not Marcelo, but I'm just using him. He's got his headphones in so he can't hear. Now there's a frustration. Now everybody else around is pissed off because I had to scream, I had to shake, This is marginalizing ourselves at a personal level. If we're able to do that at a personal level and not be sensitive enough to know, I'm on a team, my team at any moment may want to communicate with me, or may need to, especially for this kind of stuff, where we have to communicate. If you're not talking to your team every day, right? You're not communicating, You don't know what's going on in the project. They don't know what's going on. That just, it's not like, ooh, that gives the BIM management a job. No, it doesn't give us a job. It gives us, this would be the time where you cover your ears. This gives us bullshit to have to deal with because you're not present. We need people to be present on a project, and as an industry, we need to be present. We need to be dealing with what's happening with our eyes open and honestly and acknowledging it, because realistically, God, I never would have thought I would have, and this just popped into my head, I never would have thought I would paraphrase George Bush. Here it goes. Either you're with us or you're with the terrorists. And it's that kind of thing, right? Either you're with making a collaborative, communicative environment where the teams can share freely and be open and throw ideas out there that might be crazy. And somebody else has the freedom to go, that's crazy. Yeah, I know, but let's talk about it. Who knows? Maybe a nugget of gold will come out. If we're not working like that, we are marginalizing ourselves. And if we're not taking night classes to learn how to sell insurance or something similar, we will, some of us will find ourselves out of a job because those contractors, as Paul said, are hiring architects with a staff, are hiring a designer. They don't need us. They already have the ear of the owner.
Or they buy them out.
Or they buy the architecture company out, and they're just, there you go. There's your space. We'll come to you when we need you.
Yeah.
Right? If we're not part of the solution, if we're not part of the team, making ourselves the right. How many people have heard? Oh, you know, architects used to be the master builders, right? And now we're not. Right? A bunch of us. I see some heads. Yeah. Yeah. Well, either you're part of this, getting back to that, or you're part of making us marginalized and wiping us out. Which, to end on, I don't know if losing 50% of the architects in the world would be a bad thing anyways. Because we don't need more architects. What we actually need are more good architects. And less of the marginalized one that just want to get work, just want to get it out the door. I don't care how it's done. Let's just do it. Let's just draft it with our toes and chalk, and which is, by the way, that's AutoCAD. You're drawing with your toes and chalk. You know, those are the kind of people. I love that. I love those teams. You know what I tell those teams when I'm working in a firm with that? And they say, oh, well, you know what? We're just going to do this project in Revit. I say, that's awesome. Because in 9 months, I'm going to take that project over, rebuild it in Revit, and you're going to be fired. So that's, enjoy. So there's a question?
Yeah. There's sort of a trend now where firms are trying to go more remote. So kind of having consultants work out of their home across the world, across the
Virtualized.
Yeah. And so how, in your scheme of architecture, what do you think about that? Because you mentioned having earbuds in your ears. And
yeah.
everybody in the
Virtual
world.
office.
Okay, so the question was, well, let me get the question out here. The question was in the context of, wearing the earbuds and all that, with a lot of firms looking to go to a virtual solution instead of having people in a brick and mortar office where people are remote working a lot, what my thoughts are of that. So Troy, we'll give you time to answer. Oh, look, 7:32 on your forehead. That's fine. Who's got a camera? I got to take a picture. So you stay right there while I am.
It's the wrong time.
Yeah.
6:66.
That's just brilliant.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we'll tweet that at the end. What I personally think about that, I think it's really good if your company has a good infrastructure, if your company has good internet connections, if you have a good internet connection at home, and the software in a firm is freed up to where you're not precluded from doing a lot of things in a remote situation, right? Because that gets testy, bringing stuff in. But working remotely, I personally find it, I have many minds of it. I do some work remotely. People I work with do some work remotely, and you can actually be very productive that way if you're doing things that don't entail the team. You're doing like the other day Daniel was doing some BIM management and had to write a bunch of notes and compile all this stuff from all these different places. Did not need communication, collaboration, in fact needed none of that to be able to focus and do it. So in that kind of task-based, set, it's very functional. In a collaborative environment, in an environment where the team wants to be more, closer to IPD, right? Because the closer to an integrated project, the better anything will be. If everybody is always on 100% of the time, and you've got a camera on you 100% of the time, and you can, you're right, and everybody's there, and we see all 10 monitors, all 10 people, and we can talk, and everybody's talking to each other. That's wonderful. I've yet to see that in a firm, right? But that kind of thing would be great. If you went there and there was the project hangout, you walked, you logged into your computer and that was on one screen and you got your software on the other. Absolutely. Hey, Bill, Troy, hey, can you move that duct? Yeah, sure. He moves it, saves, and that's live. But that takes a real dedication and a real different infrastructure, and I just don't see it. And
mindset.
Yeah, taking teams out of that interactive. How do you know what I'm doing? I'm at home.
I mean, that's why I think there's an inherent problem there.
We've talked about it, but am I really just doing,
So let me actually talk to that real quick. But before I do, we want to say hello to... Hello. So before I answer to that, we just want to say hello to Araceli, a former LA Rug member that's watching from New York right now.
Where is she? Come here.
She's in New York watching. So
who else? Who wants to say hello? Nobody else is here. Marcelo's here. Come here, say hello. We're going to say hello to Araceli.
Hello, Araceli.
Hello, Araceli.
So let me answer your question real quick. So we used to have CAD managers, then we grew into BIM managers. We started getting VDC coordinators and managers, but there's a new trend in the industry that's a couple of years old with a new role called a design technologies manager. I happen to be one of them, so I know a little bit about it. We have another one. Design technologies managers goes above that and starts looking at issues like you're talking. How do we connect offices so that we can do BIM and VDC? How do we connect people that are working from home? How do we get all of that? So you're looking at more technology than just what you're using to build a model and data and stuff. So there is now this trend of getting a person like that into your company so that they can interface between IT and the project team. And that's very much needed because most of the time your BIM manager doesn't know anything other than working in Revit, working with Navisworks, working with CAD. They don't know about things like Link that connects people together in your company. They don't know things like Nuforma. Bluebeam Studio is a great example of something that allows you to connect people from all around into your project. So that's where design technology managers are really starting to bring companies together and utilize technology across the board.
We use that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things like that role is now needed in a company to solve issues like that because companies are getting more and more spread out. For instance, my company has an office in India that is a core part of us. They're not just modelers, they're actually working on our projects as architects. And that's a core part of us. We need to be able to have that as efficient and fluid, and the communication is a big part of it. So,
you have video screens
so
or use other software?
we use Link, and Link allows you to see not only chat, screen sharing, video and audio. It's a whole communication center built by Microsoft, allows you to see a ton of stuff. And there's other products that do the same. Using project management software, so all of your files are in location, everything about your project is there. Using things like Bluebeam Studio to where you can post a whole set of PDFs, have people go in and mark them up at any time of the day, and all those markups stay in your project on there. So there's a lot of tools that you can use to communicate. So if you don't have that person there live, you can still have them inputting on your project all the time. Yeah.
You mentioned like two others besides Bluebeam Studio and Microsoft Link.
Nuforma is a project management tool that will allow you to communicate very well with not only internally but externally.
Yeah, we're using that across the ocean with our China office.
Sharing files is great for it.
Autodesk is starting to make a lot of their products web-based. The new Revit Sundial that's out right now, which is the upcoming tool, is all web-based.
No installation.
You don't install Revit. You install a small client, you open it, it opens up Revit in the cloud. There was recently a tool called Revit Skyscraper that was announced, which is a Revit server in the cloud. So there's a lot of things that are allowing people to work from anywhere, and it doesn't mean that you have to be stuck together, which is the old model. So you got to have somebody that can understand how to get people to work in the new model, which is people everywhere all day long. Yeah, 24 hours a day.
With communication, with constant
Communication,
communication, yeah.
And a BIM manager or CAD manager is not going to know how to do that.
Later on, I can show.
Unless they do.
Then they shouldn't be a BIM manager anymore. They should be a design.
Maybe that's a good reason we don't have titles.
Are you guys still using like remote desktop, like keeping? No.
We're using Citrix.
Yeah, Citrix.
Virtual.
There's a lot of tools.
So our Shanghai office, they work on our models in LA, but they're remote.
Should be okay.
Yeah. So it's not using.
Yeah.
local computer.
Yeah.
Oh, there's
Yeah, Panzer's
Panzera moves files instead of people.
For the internet, just look for the subtitles. They'll never be there, but just we're just talking about different remote solutions like Panzera, etc. There's a lot of them. So,
You have different technologies. Get somebody that can look into them and figure them out and set up your company.
Should we do a break and start?
any other questions? Awesome. Thank you very much, Troy. Thank you very much, Amy. Okay, so next we're going to get right into it. I don't see him here. He was here. I told him to stay right there. Marcelo, don't see you. So next, Marcelo Scamboluri talking some dYNAMO. And the one thing I do want to say to you, and I don't know if you've thought about it, but when I posted the link to this, and I purposely included the picture that you created of the Darth Vader head, and chided the UK BIM crew with a little, oh, they should be excited, something like that. They should be excited over this. Not one of them mentioned that, which is really weird. The UK BIM crew, right, group kind of like us, BIM people from all over the United Kingdom, and right, they created their own hashtag, and they're all cool. And you guys are cool, even though we're gonna make fun of you now. Or when I say we, I mean me. But you know, I made some little funny tweet about, you know, oh, UK BIM crew is gonna go crazy on this, because they seem to be a fair amount of Star Wars kind of geeks about it. I heard nothing, which means I think Marcelo got to them by modeling something with a handful of nodes that I don't know if anybody on the planet would have been able to do that with as few nodes as you have. So, Marcelo Scamboluri, I would start taking notes now, people.
Hi, you made it. You made it. Hi. I made it too. Okay. Everyone ready for is this the Primus? Would you say that? Is this the main event, Jay?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
we were just your opening act.
Thank you.
This is the after party.
But no pressure, right?
No pressure. We'll just
Look at me like this. That's great. That's what I'm talking about. Alrighty. Are you in frame? Am I good right
Yes, I
here?
wasn't.
Am I good right here? Okay, let's talk about dYNAMO. We're running out of time. I had a lot to talk about, but I'll cut it back, but we'll still get through most of it. Oh, nice tweet. Nice text, Jay. Thank you.
What?
7:34.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'll keep an eye on the time. We won't go too long. dYNAMO, let's just get right into it. I'm teaching 2 classes at Artist University and 1 at the BIM Workshop in Anaheim. Google it if you want. It's a local conference. So I use these as practice, and so I'm going to be talking about dYNAMO. So it's going to be a little loose for what I say, but I'm just kind of taking notes and kind of honing in and fine-tuning this so that when it hits the conference, it's a little more polished. Okay, so. Like Jay said, if you have any questions, throw them out. If you're already asleep, I hope I can wake you up.
Well, not throw them out. I mean, give you the questions,
Okay.
present them.
All right.
Throwing out means, garbage.
Oh, okay. Just ask anytime. All right. Comments, whatever you want. So let's get a poll here. How many people have heard the word dYNAMO in regard to the AEC industry? Come on now, because if you're asleep, I'm going to wake you up.
All right.
Yeah.
Go around and wake everybody up.
All right, so about half. How many people have actually used it? And that just means you've at least downloaded it, opened it, and wired up a few boxes. I'll tell you what that means in a minute. A few. You've done it? You've done it? Okay, cool. How many people have how many people have heard about it, but's a little, who's heard about it, but it's a little intimidated because it's a bunch of programming and it does all this complex geometry and you don't know much of, how many people don't know much about it? Oh, you, Jay?
No, I have a question though that I would like you to add to this list of questions.
Yes.
How many people have opened it, looked at the name of the commands and the calls that it makes, and realized that none of them do what they say they're going to do?
Yeah, we'll get into that. The nomenclature in Dynamo is a bit, it's a bit off, and I'll explain why. But I got to keep on time. Let me hold this clock because I can't see a clock. I got to hold this clock so I can stay on time because I don't want to make a big intro. I was going to make a big intro to kind of tell you what Dynamo is, but we're going to kind of skip to the meat. All right, Dynamo. Okay, here's the thing with Dynamo. It is a free add-in to Revit. Okay, free add-in to Revit. It's developed. I can't say developed. Its development is supported by Autodesk, which means it's very robust. Okay, so there's nothing preventing you right now from getting to your office or home or whatever and downloading it for free. You just install it. It just latches right on, and I'll show you. It's a plugin. Okay, Dynamo is a plugin for Revit, and it's absolutely free, and it will always be free. It's also open source. We can talk about that in a minute. Its development is also kind of part of being open source, and everyone can contribute to it, but you don't really need to know that. Today I'm going to kind of keep it on more of an intro level, right? Like I'm going to assume no one knows anything about Dynamo, and I'm going to show you really what it does, how you can use it in your office, right? And what no one's going to invent. Mike, would you mind? Would you mind advancing this one?
Hotmail?
Huh?
You still use
I do.
That should have been the you wake everybody.
Yeah. Isn't it called Outlook Express now? How many people use Outlook?
Outlook.
No one uses Outlook? And I use Outlook? Okay, fine. All right, so set list. Gosh, I don't think I can go through all this. We'll talk about dynamo geometry, how to scale something, setting parameters, input using Excel, topo, mass curve modeling, design script, custom nodes. Gosh, I hope I can get through all that.
Go for it.
Okay, go. What is Dynamo? This is all it is, all right? This is all it is. Don't let it scare you. It's for everybody. It's for every Revit user. You forget everything I say when you walk out that door and you start talking to your peers, you need to tell them Dynamo is for everyone. When Dynamo was originally developed, it was more for twisty shapes, and those were kind of extreme examples. I'll explain why. But it's for everyone. Here's basically what it is at its core. You saw that macro. Did you show any, sorry, I was asleep in the back, Troy. Did you show any actual text, and where's Troy?
I'm over here, what?
Troy, did you show any actual text of your macro?
No, I did not.
You didn't? Okay. Macros are written under the API, exposure of API in Revit, which means you have to, thank you, that's great, that's the distraction I wanted. Thank you.
That's Cal.
It's using C# or .NET programming. Okay, all this text is a macro. You know what this does? This changes the sheet name. This changes the sheet name of a sheet. That's what this does. Okay, it's not that efficient. I wrote it. Now, can anyone guess what this does? This changes the sheet name of a sheet. And this is Dynamo. They're boxes and they're wires. And all it is, all Dynamo is a re-adaptation / configuration, consolidation, whatever you want to call it, of commands that you're using in the API. So if you're using Dynamo, you are using the API. You are an API programmer if you're using Dynamo. Anyone can challenge me on that one. Okay, so what Dynamo does is it turns anyone, including the API tasks, the small ones, it turns it into Dynamo language, and anyone can learn to use Dynamo. So you become automatically API programmers, which is awesome. And that reason is because you're using Revit and you need to do something else. Extract a value, add something to it, whatever. You can use Dynamo to enhance, supplement your Revit experience. Okay? That's what Dynamo's for. And it just works like this. You lay down these nodes, they're called nodes, they're just a bunch of boxes, and in there are discrete commands. Assign the name of the sheet to a sheet. Okay, and it says, what's the sheet name? Then this box says, I'm the sheet name. You type in the sheet name, you wire that to that, you hit run, and the sheet name changes. Okay, that's all it is. So a box is a discrete command. And it says, send something in, and I'm going to send something out. It always sends something out, doesn't always necessarily send something in. That's Dynamo. And this is under the umbrella of visual programming. Okay, this is the wave of the future, visual programming, because it's easy to use. Like, kids are using this now in elementary school. The other programs use this all the time, visual programming, okay? It hit our industry with Dynamo. There's another one called Grasshopper. Has anyone heard Grasshopper? Is anyone using Grasshopper? Ooh, yeah. Okay, turn it. What do we got? A grasshopper in Dynamo. Actually, I modeled a grasshopper inside of Dynamo. Just, you know, yeah, it's an artistic statement. But anyway, it's actually a cricket, but the legs are longer. But, you know, it's a grasshopper in Dynamo. Point is Dynamo, you're able to do two things. I'm keeping this short and then we'll move on. Dynamo does two things. It creates its own geometry, parametric geometry, and it manipulates data. That's all it does. But it does something else that's very powerful. It can link, read, and write to the Revit database. That's huge. Okay, can you imagine a program out there that can do this, that can manipulate data,
And then push it back.
but then it can read the Revit database that none of us can see? I mean, right, that database behind Revit, you can't see it. This powerful program can do that. That's what Dynamo is, okay? So, you can model this in Dynamo? Absolutely, right? You want to make this the same size as your building? Well, you can pull the height out, the elevation, out of Revit, and you can say, make this height equal to the building height. And then this will always dynamically change when you change your levels, okay? So, because it reads and writes that data. Huge, powerful. Took me months to wrap my head around that. That's what Dynamo is. Okay, go ahead. What else we got?
So that cricket that you created was created with those boxes.
Yes.
Yes, it was created with those boxes, and we will talk about that a little bit later. What is Dynamo geometry and what is Revit geometry? It's a little confusing, but that, turn it back, turn it back. Thank you. Turn it back. What is this? This is Dynamo geometry. Is this Revit geometry? No. Is this a cricket inside of Revit? No. But that's okay. That's okay.
It can be though.
It could be. Okay, but it's not. I just wanted to point out that you can do a grasshopper or cricket inside of Dynamo. Okay, it is Dynamo geometry. Keep that in mind. Let's move on.
Dynamo is software agnostic.
Dynamo is software agnostic. That means it could latch on to other databases.
It doesn't know if there are other software that exists?
It's what you mean, that comment, and you just threw it out, which is okay, is that Dynamo can read and write to the Revit database, but it can also read and write to Navisworks and others. Okay, so, but since this is the Revit user group, we're talking about Revit. Okay, Maya's on the way, Inventor's on the way.
What slope was that roof cricket?
Thank you. If anyone says you can't model crickets inside of Revit or inside of Dynamo, then say, no, I saw a cricket. I saw one of those. All right. We'll put it on top of the roof. That'd be cool, right? Roof cricket. Anyway.
By the way, for people who have problems modeling roof crickets, it's our complexity that we overlay onto it that makes it hard.
Yeah.
They're brutally simple.
Yeah.
We got to step away from our humanity at times.
Thank you for that comment. Actually, that's where that started. Was someone came up to me and said, I can't model a cricket in Revit on a roof. And I said, how hard is it to model a cricket in Revit? I said, I'll do it in Dynamo. And that's what I did. So,
this isn't hard. Why can't they do that?
Okay, so here's to illustrate the point how simple Dynamo is. Ridiculously simple. Okay? Has anyone ever tried to scale a family inside of Revit? No one? No one? Has anyone had a desire to scale something in Revit? Okay? Right? How hard is it to do? Very hard. I taught a class last year at Artist University as a workaround, but it took a whole hour to tell people how to scale something inside of Revit.
Yeah, okay? But be honest, you gave them 4 methods.
5.
5, sorry. One was made moot though.
Yeah. Point is, Dynamo has one box. See that? It says geometry scale. If you have geometry inside of Dynamo, feed it there. What does amount mean? What would I do there? Anyone guess?
Scale.
That's a scale value. What would 1 be? 100%? What would 2 be? Okay, so I have a 1.08, that's 8%. That Corinthian column, which is also built inside of Dynamo, which I did build inside of Revit as well, okay? You scale that up, you got 8%.
Does the scale command work on your Revit model of the column instead of the Dynamo?
The question was, does the scale work on the Revit geometry and not on the Dynamo geometry? And the answer is no.
Yes. Correct.
But you have to convert. Okay, so here's my. I'm thinking out loud. I better do this a side-by-side thing when I do the conference. Here's my Corinthian column inside of Revit. Anyone kind of see my Corinthian column? Just believe me, I modeled it. It's the same thing. Okay, here I am, right? I want to scale it inside of Dynamo. I can't use this box and say scale the geometry inside of Revit. I can't do that. I have to convert it into Dynamo geometry. So this is a representation of how Dynamo interprets the geometry from Revit. Okay? This is a Dynamo geometry. These are solids and points. It's not Revit. Okay?
From Revit.
But so what? So what? These databases are linked. Okay? So what if it's Dynamo geometry? Revit. So what if it's Dynamo geometry? Okay? More on this later. I know it's confusing. Go. What do we got? Everyone see the Revit elephant? I actually built it inside of Dynamo. Anyway, the point is that you can realize all this complex geometry inside of Dynamo. You can also do it inside of Revit, back and forth, and I'll tell you how.
Just to add something in here. So when somebody, if you ever hear, because you'll hear a lot of people say a lot of different things about what can or can't be done in Revit. If anybody says you can't do something in Revit, consider that they're doing one of two things to you. They either don't know how to do it, so they're just, unfortunately speaking from a point of ignorance, they just don't know what they don't know. Therefore, they make the assumption that since I don't know it, it can't be done, and that's how they profess that kind of concept. Or they're just bold-faced lying to you, eyes wide open. I haven't found a third potential reason for somebody to say something like that. It's either they just don't know or it's a lie. Because, for instance, the scaling that Marcelo came up with, he asked somebody at a company that we won't name the name because everybody knows they're a really big software developer and a lot of us might use their software. The head of one of their departments that might rhyme with support actually said, no, you can't scale families in Revit. Don't you know? The button's grayed out. There are 5 methods, at least. So when somebody, no matter who it is, even the head of development says you can't do that, consider you probably can.
Thank you. With Dynamo, we're going to say there's 5 methods now, right? Okay. Topography. Who's used Revit topography? Who uses topography in Revit? Who loves those tools? Aren't they awesome?
Wow. Right.
Dynamo builds topography, and actually, I think what I'll do is I'll focus my whole talk, since everyone has done topo. I'll illustrate all the points of Dynamo, or most of them, through a topo example, okay? Because we're kind of running out of time. But you want to do something complicated? You can do this inside of Dynamo. This is actually Dynamo geometry, okay, where you can actually build contours and all that. If you want to go really whacked out, you can also build this out of Revit topo with Dynamo's help. Anyone know what that is? That's actually a dragon head embossed onto topo surface. Okay? See it? You want to see it? Yeah? Okay, cool.
Just a suggestion for your presentation when you do it.
Yeah.
Focus more not on generating the topography itself, but on the elements that would go onto the topography, because most or many times we're getting topography from a civil.
Okay. Okay.
So just
okay. The comment was, and I'll do that. I'll do both. Is have examples where you model topo, but then also have examples where you model things onto topo, hardscape, sidewalks, roads, right? Exactly. Okay. In this example, which I don't have time to show, we would actually do this curved road inside of using Dynamo's help to create it. We don't have time to do it, but we'll do a retaining wall. Okay. What else we got? Oh, curved beams, you can do this. What else we got? You can make custom nodes. Anyone seen the Revit Cal? What's cool about Dynamo is you can actually, if you're using a node over and over and over again, or a cluster of them, you can actually group them together and make one node to make it easy. You can even publish it up onto the internet if you like to do that. So when you download Dynamo, you're going to actually see a bunch of custom nodes, and you can read through them and use them if you want to. Okay, that's kind of this collaborative sharing effort. All right, so let's just get into Dynamo. Are there any questions about it right now? No, other than you need to get it and use it because it's the buzzword right now, and you're going to want to ride that wave.
We need to see it in action is what we need.
Okay, hold on now. You're gonna want to know it. You're gonna want to know it. Okay, it's changing every day, meaning it's getting better and better every day. And what are the releases of Revit? They're quarterly maybe with the hot fixes. dYNAMO, can anyone guess what the release is?
Every day.
Every day. Okay, so it's moving quick every day, which is cool. All right, so let's get into it. Okay, now I gotta figure out where to start because we're almost 8 o'clock.
Have you updated?
I started it. I'm sorry.
Have you updated?
Question was, have I updated? We will be using today's latest build. Is that enough? Is that updated enough for you? I don't. Is it? I think it was actually at 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. I'm way behind. Hey Troy, where's the thing here? So I go open. Sorry, this is kind of a.
I can model a cow.
This is a file. This is a virtual system. How do I open?
Big R. Open.
Is it here? Troy?
Troy, go.
Troy, I'm on the desktop.
desktop.
Okay, cool.
We gotta pin it to a shirt next time.
Okay, just getting used to the system here.
Computers are a little foreign to Marcelo because he does a lot of his work on his 2.5-hour drive home and to work. Literally figures things out. So the computer is a very minor tool.
Is it one of those new, brain?
No, it really is that kind of the kind of thing that Stephen Hawking does, right?
All right.
He can't deal with it, so he does a lot of it in his head. He's got a 2.5-hour drive. He does a lot of it in his head.
Okay, let's start here. Let's start here, okay? How many people have actually modeled topography? How many people actually modeled it? Okay, Jay, we got some people who model it. I mean, you're usually going to get it from a civil, but let's say you model it, right? How many people have actually done retaining walls inside of Revit, where you have soil up on one side or the other, sort of? Okay. That's not really relevant now, but I'm going to make a kind of a crazy retaining wall here. That's what this is, okay? And right now, if you were to model inside of get used to this. You see that topo down there? That's actually topography, right? See, it's topography with 4 points. Okay. What I want to do is the owner says they love the shape of this wall. Let's just talk about that. Okay. And if you Google my name, I actually taught a course last year at Autodesk University where we actually took the shape. We actually had topography. Yeah, it was actually a human head. And we wrapped this wall onto that. So there are methods to actually be able to have hardscape follow contours. So let's just say we already did that, and then the owner doesn't like that complicated berm, but they love this wall, okay? And it's a boundary, so we need to have soil high on one side and low on the other, okay? But it also needs to follow this shape, right? As topo, okay? Now, how would you do it right now? Anyone guess? How would you do it right now?
Send it up to CAD.
Send it off to CAD. Okay. You got to get these points and you got to make them kind of follow that shape, right? What would you do? You take these points and then you just start kind of clicking and kind of guessing it, right? Wouldn't you kind of do that? Wouldn't you? Okay, cool. Here I got a little added bonus. If anyone doesn't want to use dYNAMO, which you should, let me show you a little trick. If you don't want to use dYNAMO, okay, ready? Watch this. And this is how I'm going to try to organize my presentations to give you a graphical interface and then a dYNAMO solution. Just so you have it. Okay, watch this.
Who's the audience of the talk?
They're Autodesk University attendees.
So there's this one, the beginner, middle, or advanced one. I'm just trying to know what level you're talking to.
I'm talking to very beginners. Beginner dYNAMO users, intermediate Revit users. Does that help? Okay? All right. So that's a wall, by the way. I hope everyone kind of recognizes that. Okay, that's a wall. And that down there is topo. All right? And if you're brand new to this, then great. Because good for you. All right, watch this. So the thing is, the owner says, okay, you're talking to them and they say, I actually want to have soil high on one side and the other. So what you do is, what you could do inside of the graphical interface, that actually is totally possible, even if you never knew dYNAMO. Check this out. So cool. Here's a model line, right? Boom, there's one on the top, okay? You see that model line right there? Huh? You don't see it? You don't see it? Okay. say that was down here. Okay, that's the soil you want on that side. The other side, now I'm doing model lines for a reason. I love model lines. I also love to do mass, in-place masses. Okay, here's another one. Okay, model line, pick. And if you don't know how to do this, you just pick. Okay, so say you're talking to the owner and they're like, yeah, you know, I really want, gosh, I really love that, and I want the soil up there. And then you know, down on this side, it's actually over here. Okay, so that would be a retaining wall if the soil was up here on this side and then lower on that side. Okay, the bottom would have footings and all that, right? Okay, check this out. This is so cool. Watch this. Okay, here we go. Hide. All right, so the only way to do that right now was to do the point manipulation I talked about, right? One point at a time, click, 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 click. Watch this. Okay, do that, isolate it. Okay, now, what you can do is you can actually export this. What are we doing? Oh, we're doing on time. Oh, cool. I could do this in about 3.5 minutes. Okay, export DWG, right? You're like, why are you exporting a DWG? You can export a DWG because Topo actually recognizes DWGs as boundaries. Yeah, it does. Okay, so watch this. So I'm sending that isolate. What is this, Troy? Killing me. Troy, can I not write to my... Troy, what's going on? I can't write to the desktop?
You're trying to write inside the zip. You're trying to write inside
whatever.
the zip.
Okay, fine. Send it somewhere.
Yeah, you can't save it inside a zip file.
Okay, thank you. But I can model a cricket inside of dYNAMO.
Yeah, but you can't. Still can't save it. It's a Microsoft limitation, not a Marcelo limitation.
Oh, thank you for that.
We can write an API plugin for you.
Watch this. Insert. Hey, come on now. You're wrestling with my time. I'm timing myself. Insert CAD file. You're like, why are you doing this? Just hang on a second. Watch this. This is so cool.
Where'd it go?
No, yeah, here it is. Okay. Origin to origin. Origin to view. Boom. Okay, now I should have dropped it right in there. Oh, there it is. Okay, see it? So now everyone convinced that I actually just made, see these lines? That's actually just a topo, a DWG. I send it out, send it right back in, okay? Watch this. Now I bring back everything back. Okay, now I edit this topo, and the developers did this, and I don't think they knew they did it. You can edit a surface, and you know how you can create a topo from a DWG from scratch? You can also edit a topo and use a DWG. Does that make sense? This is already an existing topo, right? Normally you get DWG from, come on. Normally you get a DWG from the civil. Okay, watch this. Create, select import instance. Boom. Yes. There you go. See that? Look at that cool as that, right? That uses dYNAMO, right? You see that? How the soil kind of goes up on each side like that? And then if you look, you can look in the section. Do I have a section here? I gotta finish. Okay, here we go. What is, I better set this up a little better. See, look at that. How cool is that, right? Okay, didn't use dYNAMO yet, right? Just a little trick for you if you ever want to do that. If you want to have topo follow a certain shape, use a model line, DWG, import, export. Right now, where's the problem? Where's the limitation? Here it is, right? Owner says, you know what? Gosh, I like that. Oh. Did you do that on purpose?
That's just natural life getting in your way. So deal with it. Mister, I want to deal with it.
Fix that. No, that's a good one. Okay.
Keep going.
Problem is, the landscape architect says, you know what, that's not going to be 5 feet up on the wall, it's going to be 7. So you take that and you move that model line 7 feet. And then what happens? What happens with the topo? Does it automatically adjust? No. You have to take those two, isolate it, send it out, send it right back in, do DWG import, do an update, and now it's updated, right? Do you see that kind of extra set that is just kind of a limitation, right? That's a limitation. I don't need to show you that. Perfect timing. So everyone agrees with that? But there's a savior. The savior is dYNAMO. dYNAMO can see that line and keep track of it. So if it moves, then the topo moves. Watch this. Okay, here we go. We're gonna back up a little.
There's a screen over there, by the way, just for a minute. We'll tell you when this one's back up.
Oh, sorry. Look over there.
The online people, they can see you. So you can
Online can see. Online has a great time. They don't know what we were laughing at.
Look over there. Okay, we're gonna start again. Ready? Boom. Okay, here we go. dYNAMO. Now I set this up already, though. In the class, I'm gonna go through adding a bit more nodes. Okay, dYNAMO. Here it is. That's the added. Okay. So now you have all this geometry set up for you, right? Oh, okay. All right. You have all this geometry set up for you, and then you navigate to it. Okay. Here we go. Okay, cool. I'm just going to open something that is already kind of predefined a little bit. Let me. Yeah, I know. It's a little bit defined. All right. So here's the thing. Okay, inside of Dynamo, you have the ability to select geometry within Revit. So what we ultimately want to do inside of Dynamo is say, Dynamo, create a new topo that includes points along those two lines on each side of the wall.
You're on it.
Okay? That's what you want to do. So,
Range back, everybody, just in case. Depends on where you want to let this.
okay, so in Dynamo, thank you. So the way you want to do it is in Dynamo, and in the class I'm going to start from scratch, but I can't hear it. We don't have time. In Dynamo, when you want to do something, you lay that node down. And what do we want to do? We want to create a topo, right? So in Dynamo, what you do is you go to Revit, okay? And by the way, look here. See this geometry? These in Dynamo, you actually have this I don't know, selection menu on the left. You see in here in Revit, if you use any node from that menu, that means you're creating Revit geometry. Okay? If you use anything from this menu, it means you're creating what? Dynamo geometry, okay? It took me a long time to wrap my head around that, but that's the case, okay? So where are we going to look? Revit, of course, but it can be a little confusing because sometimes geometry will have boxes and Revit will have boxes. Okay? So we go Revit, okay, let's keep going. We're going to do an element. We'll talk about those other things later, hopefully. And then we want to go down here to what? What do you think? Topo. There's topography. And then what do you think we would do? We'd want to query or we want to create?
Create.
Okay, we want to create. Now you can query if we had an existing, you can pull the meshes or pull the points. That's like Dynamo reading from that global database, which is awesome. But you want to create by points, okay? So you just click that and it's going to drop down this box. See? Just pretend that's the only thing here, okay? Okay, this is pretty easy. Now what do you feed into that? What do you feed into that? What do you feed into the node? You always have ports. These are called ports. This is the input port, and this is the export. This is the output port. The input port is always on the left. The output port is always on the right. Okay? You don't always wire things out, but you'll wire things in. You have to wire things in. So it's asking for data. What data is it asking for?
Lines. Points.
It's asking for points. Okay? X, Y, Z. You've got to put that in there. Okay? So what you got to do now is create points and then wire it into there. All right, so that's kind of the core of it. And when I build geometry inside of Revit using Dynamo, I always start from the beginning. I always say, what do I need to do? And then I always work backwards. Okay, I know it's a little backwards, but that's the best way to do it because then you want to feed it in. So anyway, I'm not going to bore you with all the details of what we did here, but there's that node again. Remember? The one you know and love, topo points? Make sure you get and use that. It's awesome. Oops, sorry. That's not that one. Where's it at? Where's it at? Create. Where's my create?
You just selected it.
Did I move it? Okay, it's in here. All right, no, it's here somewhere. Here. There it is, see? Right? Okay, that's at the very end of this program. Okay, that's the very end product. All right? There's other stuff here that's kind of manipulating the data, and what it's doing is I have to extract this curve, and I have to extract this curve, okay? So what we want to do is we want to select it. Now, when you select something inside of Dynamo, when you select something inside of Revit, you actually use the selection node. And you're going to be using selection nodes all the time inside of Dynamo, okay? Because you need to get that Revit geometry into Dynamo geometry. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, so all you do is, for intro, you want to usually be selecting elements. Sorry, I heard something, but you'll always want to be using selection, and then there's one here called select model element. That's a pretty good one just to start with. Okay, you have the ability to select like whole families or groups and all that. But if you're modeling something inside of Revit and you want to get it over to Dynamo quick, then the select model element is actually probably the best bet. Okay, so so let's see. In this case, we're actually wiring in this particular existing topo because we want to actually add points to it. Okay, so I'm going to say select model element, click that. And then this model element is actually the first curve, which would be this one. And then this curve would be this one, okay? And that should be enough for me to run this. I know there's other stuff here, but we'll get into it in a minute. Let me see, is that right? Okay, so let's run this and see what happens. So we run it, and all that's happening is it's saying, did it work? Did it disconnect something? What happened?
Looks like it's there, those blue dots, man.
Okay, well, yeah, but we're, okay. It extracted, it extracted the curves, you see that? Now, when you're looking, another thing is, when you see the geometry in this window, it's dYNAMO geometry. When you see it in here, inside of Revit, it's what? Revit geometry. Is that curve this curve? No. It is dYNAMO's interpretation of what that curve is, but that's okay. They're kind of dynamically linked. So if I moved that, then that would automatically move. Does that make sense? That's going to be very important later when you start becoming very advanced dYNAMO users. All right, but let me see. So we did that, but this topo was supposed to change. I'm trying to figure out why it did not change. Hold on a second. Okay, let me see here. My points. Wow.
Hey Marcelo,
Yeah.
are there any good assets out there about how best to organize the visual programming kind of in groups and chunks?
The question was, is there a way to make these a little more organized? And the answer is,
Not necessarily a way, but something out there where people have used, tried and true.
There is. The question was, how do you organize? Not too much. There is an auto sort that actually makes this a little more like user friendly in terms of actually organizing this. But anyway, I don't know. Hold on a second. This is okay. Here we go. Let's try this. There we go. Okay, here it is. All right. Did you see what happened? So are we kind of at the same point now, where we were before? Do you see that? We're exactly at the same point, right? So what has dYNAMO helped us? It hasn't actually helped us yet because we're all good Revit users and we could have done this, right? Here's where the power is. Watch this. You see that curve? Let's try to select it again. You see that? Remember that model curve? Where's that model curve? Oh, come on, Joe. Where's it at? So I gotta hide this.
Just make a selection of filter.
Huh?
Make a selection, window selection of filter.
Window from right to left.
From right to left in the filter.
Oh, I guess I could do that.
And then use the filter.
Well, let's just do this, okay? Thank you, Joe. Let's just do this, okay? You see this one? Right? That's that actual line. Right? Now, can anyone tell me if I were to actually move that down? I don't know. You're in a meeting and the owner says, you know what? The landscape architect says, you know what? That line could actually be there. Okay? And did I move? Did I copy that? Or there's two? Oh, there's two. Uh-oh.
The other side of the wall?
No, there's two. Hold on. I hope this is the one that I... no, there's not two. You know what? Something graphically is funny going here. Did you do this on purpose, Troy?
Yes. Hope so.
Okay. So it do there. Let's move. Let's run it again. Did it move?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Do you see how it moved like that? All right, so you go back here and you could actually go to your section and you can see it. Okay, here we go.
You said done. What happens when we change it? So we changed it. So what's happening?
Okay, thank you. What's happening is when we actually moved that model line and we hit dYNAMO again, it actually was recalculating where that curve was. It sent it out to dYNAMO, and dYNAMO told that topo, hey, your curve has moved. Send that data back to Revit, and then update your points that define the topo along this edge. Did you see that?
No, we didn't.
Okay, you didn't see it move? Okay, let's try it again.
You had it hidden, so it was hard to see it.
Oh, okay. No, all right. No, let's do it again because we didn't see it. Let's see. We got to get a better way of getting that thing here. Hang on. On that side, right? Let's see. Did you say window it like this? Is that what you said?
Window from right to left.
Right to left. Just
Okay.
Anything is touched,
Just like
select
that,
it. Go to your filter, deselect.
But I got it though, didn't I? I got it. Yay. Okay. Let's do it again. So we'll keep an eye on it. Okay. Is it still selected? Let's move it. Let's move it. Oh, you know what? Okay. There. Is that better? Can I get it this way? There we go. Oh.
Multiple lines.
All right. Let's get that one. Did everyone see which one that one is? That's the top one. All right, let's move it up. Okay, so that's the one that defines the top. Let's actually move it up to the almost towards the very top. And then you see how that curve moved like that? And the topo has not moved? Okay, we're gonna run dYNAMO again and we're gonna see what happens.
Do it.
There you go. Do you see how it automatically updated?
There it is.
Okay, that's the point. But you know what? Yeah, thank you. That's
By the way, if you don't show it, we don't see it.
right. Thanks, Jay. No, that's cool. That's what I want. Okay, but watch this. No, that's what. Okay, hold on. I don't know why this didn't move. Did I start this again? I had a section here. There we go. Okay, that's what we want to see. Okay, there we go. Do you see how that is actually up on the wall? There's a little thickness to it. But do you see that? That's what we wanted, right? Okay. Now here's the thing. With dYNAMO, right? You had to actually manually move it inside of Revit, right? But do you have to move it inside of Revit? Right? What if we actually moved the curve inside of dYNAMO? Could we do that? Wouldn't that just be equally valid? Now that's where the power comes in, okay? Watch this. Let's say you're working with the landscape architect and they keep changing their mind over and over and over. No, it's actually 5. No, it's actually 2. No, it's actually 10. And instead of you having to grab it and move up and down, all you have to do inside of dYNAMO is say, okay, you know what? I already have that curve. It's right here. All I'm going to do is just add another node, and we'll do this in the lab. Add another node that says, I'm going to add this equation, which says, you see that? Which says, okay, give me the z value of all those points. And then add on an input, okay, which would be something that you can move up and down. And then tell the landscape architect, hey, look.
This is your slider.
Look. Well, this is your slider, or this is your input box, okay? When you know the answer, put it here, okay? When you know the answer, put it there. So then, instead of having to move that line up and down, you can tell them, look, just change this value, and then it will automatically, dynamically change. You see that? You see what I'm doing? Do you see how this is actually controlling that lower one now? So instead of 1.5, the landscape architect says, no, it's 2. Wait, no, it's 2.5. Wait, no, it's 4. Wait, no, it's 5. Do you see that? Do you see how powerful that is?
2 feet?
It's two, yeah, in this case, it's actually working in feet from where it was. But the point is that this responsiveness is actually what makes dYNAMO so powerful. This is called computational design, where you can actually make these things on the fly. And I'm using topo because topo is so difficult to manipulate, but dYNAMO actually has a handle on it and it can manipulate those points. So you're like, you know what? You can actually do this. You can actually have a node and you tell your landscape architect, here's the Revit file, here's dYNAMO, and then you can do it. I'll do it one more time.
Let's see it. I don't want to hear about it. I want to see it.
So, okay, landscape architect, it's 1. Here, move it, and there you go. All right, have at it. Or here's 2. And do you see it kind of climbing up the wall? So it's 1 from the bottom, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4, and so on and so on. You see that? That's how simple that is, right? Okay, now that's all kind of fine and dandy, but Revit, dYNAMO is so powerful, it doesn't have to stop there, right? You see how this is just a manual input? Say your landscape architect says, you know what, I hate for you to give me your dYNAMO file and your Revit file, and me open Revit, and me change dYNAMO. That's really a pain. And you're like, okay, what do you want to do? And they're like, well, I use Excel. Okay, would you like to enter that value on Excel? And they're like, yeah! Watch this. dYNAMO is a data manipulator, right? It's a data management tool. So you don't have to have a dYNAMO node say, all you have to do is enter a value here. But how you enter that value there actually can be wildly different on how you do it. You could either do it by moving the line, you could do it by actually putting the value in a node, or you can actually use Excel. Watch this.
As a list?
I'm sorry?
As a list?
The question was as Excel as a list. That is correct, and we'll talk about list management hopefully. But the way it works is
Excel.
Excel. Do you have Excel on here? Oh, God. I actually lost my. I think I lost.
Do you have Windows on that?
This is too funny. Do you have Excel though?
Go to all programs.
Do you have Excel, Troy?
Sure, hit the Windows key. Go to all programs.
Okay.
Type the word Excel.
Oh, what's that?
Type Excel.
Excel.
And hit enter.
Okay, I got it.
EXCEL.
Oh, all right, I got it.
Or that.
Okay, watch this. I hope you're interested. Okay, blank workbook. Okay, do you see this is tab sheet 1, right? So if you want to set something up for them, just say enter the value right there in the first cell. You can do that, or you can make a heading like enter it here, and then you can have them enter the value in the second cell, right? It's all completely up to you. But just because it's an intro class, we'll just say enter it in the first cell. So you're like, look, landscape architect, I'll make this like 3.58 so we know it comes in. Okay. I do have to save this as somewhere. Okay, so the workflow is.
Save it as an XML.
Let's see. I do have to. Okay, I got to send it right back. Okay, exercises, topo. I'll get this a little more down. All right, let's call it input. Okay, we call it input, and we hit save. Okay, got that?
Does it have to be an XML or?
The question is, does it have to be an XML? The answer is no. Okay, in Dynamo, all you have to do is drop down this very powerful node, Excel read. That's it, Excel read. It's beautiful, so beautiful. What do you think you have to put here? That's just the Excel name. Okay, you can put down here a file path node. Drop that down. We're going to browse over there real quick. Is it already here? It's right there. Boom. Okay, open. The sheet name. Now that one actually most default to sheet 1. That's actually the tab at the bottom, but if it was something funny, it could be something else. The way you do that, this is actually called design scripting inside of Dynamo. If you double click on the canvas, you'll get this kind of quote unquote code block. That's kind of this catch-all do anything. If you want to enter in a string, a series of letters, not numbers, then you put it in quotes. And in this case, I'd say sheet 1, quote, done, and then it would see this as a string. Okay, like that, you wire that up, and it says, okay, I'm going to look for this file. I'm going to look for this sheet name. Let me unplug this for a second to show you how it works. You can do this for any Excel. Okay, if you hit run, it's actually, don't pay attention to what's happening with. You see how you look here? By the way, any node inside of Dynamo, you can preview it by clicking this little box. Do you see what it just did? It just read that data. You see how powerful this is now? Right? This is Excel. You can send this to the landscape architect. You can send it to your boss upstairs. Right? And you can say, fill this out. This doesn't have to be a height on a topo, right? I mean, just, can anyone see how powerful this is? This can be elevations of levels. Hey, call you down. Can you change those elevations? No, you change them. Here's the Excel spreadsheet, right? It's that easy. It's that easy. Okay, in this case, it's any input, all right? So cool. Watch this. I'm not done. So this makes a list. It's a list with only one item in it, which is a list of a list. Getting into list theory is a little difficult right now because this is an intro class. But anyway, I'm just saying grab the first item of the list. And the first item of the list. That's right. Okay, where are we going here? And then I think I'm going to feed this back in there. Oh yeah. Look. See? Okay, everyone ready? Hopefully. Everyone ready? Let me hit run. Better move. There you go. You see that? Isn't that awesome? No one thinks that's awesome. We're driving now, how much did I pay for this extension? How much?
Nothing.
How much did I? Okay, is that right? I paid nothing for this, right? Just a lot of sweat. And
nothing. It's free.
It's absolutely free. It actually reads to Excel. Okay, so if you're doing Excel manipulation and you want to change things in and out and use Excel, do it. Check Dynamo out because it's very powerful. Okay, do you see that? Now let's say your boss upstairs says, you know what? What is that comment back there?
That's right. I said Excel costs $200.
Wait a second. So were you about to talk about stairs?
No, I was gonna say I was gonna keep going.
Oh, you weren't gonna, I thought you were gonna talk about stairs.
No.
Okay. If you can get Dynamo to push to regenerate the stairs when a level changes and add risers, then we're talking about a win.
Done. I'll do that next one. I'll work on that. Any other comments? Okay. Anyone want to see? Keep going? Yeah. Okay, let's say your boss says, you know what? That's great. Send me screenshots of that Excel file manipulation. I want to see what I've done because I just think it's so cool. Right? He's like, I changed that value, I email it to you. Just tell him to drop it in a folder, right? And then you run Dynamo and it does it. Now, Dynamo does have an run automatically down here. We haven't really talked about it. But there is a run automatically, which means it's constantly checking for updates. Okay, that Excel file goes in there, boom, it can automatically update. It can. It can. Okay. They're working on it. It doesn't work for everything, but it's coming. Okay. You can run automatically. Okay. Boss drops it in there, Excel file. It reads it automatically. Boom. That topo changes, and he absolutely loves, or she absolutely loves that section. But they're like, you know what? I love that section. I want to change it again to 2. Okay, I'm going to change it to 2. Let's change it, right? Where's it at? Desktop. Sorry, I got it. Wait. Let's go back there. Okay, where? Yeah?
Excel's still running. To the bottom.
Okay. I want to make it 2.01 just so we know it's kind of. We hit save. Right? Save. Okay. Let's minimize this. Minimize that. Okay, it didn't automatically update it, and even when you, there you go. Did you see it move? Did it move?
Yeah, it moved.
Okay. No, it didn't. See, this is still reading 1.58. No. Okay, we have to remind it. Hey, did I save it?
Yes.
I did? All right, let's try it again. Did I crash it?
Yes.
Wow. Maybe we crashed it. Okay, it would update. Just believe me. Okay, the next thing is. Jeez, man, this is tough. I don't know why it's hanging up so long. Okay, the next thing is that your owner says, you know what? I actually like that I'm changing it, but I can't see the changes. I want you to send me out image files of this every time I change it. Okay, of that cross section every time I change it. And you're like, I'm not going to do that. I'll let dYNAMO do that. Watch this. Watch this. Okay, dYNAMO can actually extract views and create images of them or PDFs of them. And, okay, so when you do that, am I going to have to restart this whole thing again?
Yes.
Did this crash?
Yes.
Wow.
We use the daily builder.
Yeah, I haven't seen that happen, but this is the daily build I tested it on last night. Okay, how do we kill this? How do we kill this? Someone?
Right click and tap.
Right here? Wow. That's it. Is this? Am I going to start this again? Okay, I got it. Don't worry, I got it pre-baked. Where's Revit?
REB text.
Okay, hang on everyone, we're going to get up again. Excel?
Excel crash.
It's okay. Okay. It's alright. I'm just going to explain this so we can move on. Is this okay?
Yep.
Okay, watch the. Okay. Alright. I got a pre-baked one actually. Let's test this. Alright, so we got dYNAMO is under add-ins. dYNAMO. Okay, that's where it's at. Under dYNAMO, because it's this, it has this ability to read files. You can actually, what you can, oh good, it's right here. Okay, cool. What you can do, I'm just gonna have to show you. What you can do inside of dYNAMO is you can actually also set up, views where you can actually export the view. I'm gonna have to move on, but let me just show you. So you can actually do image, because we've actually used this in our office quite a bit, where we've got the boss up there wanting to change the value, but he wanted to see the output right away. What you can do with dYNAMO is you can actually say here it says see here, Revit views actions export as image. Okay, you see that? I'm not going to be able to go through all this, but do you see this? All you do is just send in the view. Okay, and the way you do that is you go through, you select either the name of the view, or you can actually click current view. I think I'll do, I think it's active view. Active view, okay? So you can do active view. Here, active view. Here we go.
Is there a library of all that?
There's not a library of all this where it's actually printed out on hard copy. Is that what you mean? If you want, I'm sorry?
Or just take online
no, there's not. There's not a good online location where it has all the commands and what they do. Actually, I was working on a glossary for that. That doesn't happen. if you know relatively what you want, you can type it in the search and it'll give it to you. But this one, you'd actually click Active View. You see this? And then you'd feed the view in, and then you'd feed that path that we just did. You can feed that in, and then you hit Enter, and then it'll automatically send out an image of your active view. Okay, I don't show it here, but do you see that? So it could send out this, or it could send out the update of that one we just showed you. When I crashed, so I lost a lot of stuff, which is killing me. Okay, do you see? You can actually send that out, and it would dynamically update. Okay, does everyone believe me on that? Okay, I'm not going to show it.
No.
You don't believe me? Oh, you're killing me, dude. Okay, you want to see it? You're kicking my ass.
One thing you might
You are
want for the
killing
class is,
I'm sorry?
one thing when you do your class, you might want a whole bunch of saved files for like every single step. So you can just recreate where you stopped. Because it's likely to crash sometime.
Yeah, I do have that. I just didn't. I do have that. I do have that. I just don't have the one with the image because I just kind of started. I just threw that in there last minute. But thank you for that suggestion. Okay, so let's move on. Does anyone have any questions about that so far? dYNAMO is kind of because of this short amount of time. Because of this short amount of time, I don't have time to kind of show you everything I wanted to show you. But I want everyone to kind of get a feel how easy dYNAMO is to kind of move and manipulate. And with dYNAMO, what's so simple is if you want to extract data, it's very easy to do that. Okay, so for example, here's this wall, right? And you want to be able to find out the parameters of this wall. Do you see how it's over here? The parameters are over here, right? But you actually want to be able to extract that and change them and add them back. It's this easy, watch this. So what you do in dYNAMO is you actually need to first, what would you need to do in dYNAMO? You got to first select the wall, okay? So you go down here to selection, go down here to, oh, come on. Okay, selection, so Revit, selection, select element, select model element, okay? Here we go, select model element. You can actually select this, all right? Now if I run this, actually nothing's gonna happen, okay? It's just picking up the element ID, and that's how dYNAMO works. It actually works in element ID numbers. That's how it actually works because it's a throwback to the API in that language, okay? So what you would need to do then is you need to convert it into, if you wanted to actually see it inside of dYNAMO and manipulate it in dYNAMO, you would actually need to extract it into dYNAMO geometry. And the way you do that is you actually go here to Revit, element, and then under here, under element, you have action and you have geometry. See that? And then under here, you would actually link it up and then run it. And then it should, oh, that's nice. That's great. It would do, oh, that is awesome.
You had to mention crashing.
I did, didn't I? Oh, that is killing me. Thank you, Karen.
It happened to me last night.
Oh, it did? Okay.
But a completely different time.
Yeah, I got to pick a build and stick with it. All right, let's.
My icons also do.
Let me show you how to. Yeah, but let me show you. Okay, let me show you how to extract that geometry. Let's do open. Okay, hold on a second. I gotta show you this because working with parameters inside of dYNAMO is actually probably one of the most common things you're gonna do. Okay, so here we go.
In fact, you might want to start your top with that.
Okay.
With a really simple case like that. And then show your front totals.
Okay, thank you. I'll do
You can
that.
ignore me as much as you want. You do fine at these things. Yes, I know.
Yeah, dYNAMO is killing me with these crashes. Yeah, I'll start out with something simpler. I just couldn't do that in these time constraints because I was told I'd get an hour and a half.
So we
I have a
this
lot less
instead.
time. Yeah.
You talk too much.
All right, anyway, look at this.
The most brief I've ever been.
Wow, that's actually amazing. Okay, here's another example. Let's say we needed to extract. Let's say we needed to extract the actual parameters of this particular column family. Okay, see this column family? They're right here, but actually you want to be able to extract them. So what you can do is in dYNAMO, you can just set up a node. where you, I'm gonna start from scratch. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Let's just hang on. Let's go over this, and then we can leave. Who's ever left? All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do select elements, select model element. So select model element. Here we go. Wait, did I do it? Oh, that's element. Okay. Selection. Select model element. Here we go. Okay, we're gonna select that particular column. Okay. You see that? Then what you can do is there's actually under here, you can say element, and then under here you'd say element, and you'd say list query, and then query all the parameters. See that? And then you'd link that up and you'd run, and we hopefully don't crash. Okay, there we go. Oh gosh. Okay, you see that? Right, so that's how easy it is to pull data outside of Revit. You've just done that, right? You've just pulled data outside of Revit. Right? These are all the parameters that are within this element. Okay. Now, once you have those, then you can set them to something else. Right? So let's say, for example, I wanted in this particular column. Right? Let's see. Where's it at? For this particular column, do you see it right now? How the base offset's at 4 feet. What if we wanted to change that to 6? Right? You could easily go in here and you can type in 6. Right? But what if you want dYNAMO to drive it? Like, for example, in our particular project, we actually had perimeter walls all the way around the building, and we wanted to make pilasters, and we wanted the bottoms of the columns to be the same bottom elevation as the walls. Well, what we had to do before was we had to click on every wall, and then we had to type in, get the values, and then we had to go into the column families and type in, or the instance of the columns, and we had to type in the bottom elevation of every single one. You don't have to do that if you use dYNAMO. All you have to do is extract the base value out of the system family, which is the wall, and then just assign it right to the column. So let's just say we did that, and now you want to change the value of the column. So what you do is you go here, which is something you'll be using all the time as well, which is under query, under action. Do you see this, how it says set parameter by value? You see this? This one? This one you're going to be using all the time. Okay, so tell me what I would add in here. You're going to help me. Ready? What would this be? The column. I got it right here, don't I? Boom. What would this be? Parameter name. Right? What is it? Base offset? Okay, remember our code block? And we put it in quotes. Base offset. It has to follow it exactly. You see that? That's base offset, isn't it? Okay, and now what's the value? Whatever we want, right? So let's say in this case we want it to be, huh? We can do a slider. I'll talk about sliders in a second. Okay, do you see that? Now, when I run this, that should change to 3, shouldn't it? There, do you see what it just did? Okay, now you just were able to manipulate data outside of Revit and then shove it right back in. This is extremely powerful because this doesn't have to be a 3. It could be some value you get from something and you're setting it equal to it. That's the power of dYNAMO. And do you see how simple that is? Do you know how many lines of code this would take inside the API? It'd be ridiculous. And you'd need to be a C# expert, I'd say. Right, Troy? Did Troy leave?
Yeah, he left.
See, really?
Said something about fuck you and...
Oh, you're killing me, Troy.
That's actually my laptop.
Okay, one more thing. Watch this. It's so cool. dYNAMO also has something called sliders. Like if you're doing iterative design, you can actually put this on a slider. It doesn't have to be an actual like strict value, right? Watch this. Ooh, that's gonna crash it hard. Okay, you can actually set a value here. Say you want to start at 3, and then you want to end at, I don't know, 10, but you want to kind of look at everything in between. You can actually set this here as a slider, and then you hit run automatically, and then it'll start to update it every time you pull it. Should. Yeah, you see that? You see what I'm doing? Or you can select it and then you can just start sliding it. Do you see this? So do you see how powerful that could be? Right? So you can't do that inside of Revit, right? You can't do that. Right? Now this could be anything. It doesn't have to be a column, right? Okay, so see how simple that is? 1 node, 3 entries, and then away you go. And then one thing that I did in this example was, in our particular case, this is a real example. We actually had this particular crane telehandler, a contractor had it in our model, and he wanted to make the fork height equal to the elevation of this pad where he was going to be loading in all his mechanical equipment. And so we're like, we had to actually this had to be it couldn't be at the maximum height of the forks. So all we did was we built well, I already had this family. I actually set the height of the forks equal to this elevation. And then I actually moved this, and this platform was able to move back and forth. You see how easy that was? All I did was I got the elevation, I got the height of the forks, and then I set the elevation of the floor. And I set them equal to each other. So anytime those forks change, that elevation would change. Is there a question there?
Yeah, you mentioned you can control several different families, I guess like walls and columns all at once.
Yes.
So is that just as simple as adding
Just connectors.
Okay, what I didn't go over, and I will have a section in the lab on this, is that, where did it go? Where's dYNAMO? Where'd it go? Troy, where's my window? dYNAMO, there it is. Okay. Yeah, do you see? All right, instead of select model element, I just selected one entity, right? What dYNAMO is very powerful with, and this is amazing as you start to get really into it, is you usually will never be just selecting one thing. You'd be selecting all the columns. And if you did that, there's a lot of ways to do it, but you can do select model elements, where you'd actually be selecting more than one column. You see I'm actually selecting a whole bunch of stuff. You see that? And then these all kind of come up. Actually, let me just do columns. Hold on a second. Let me isolate the columns.
That's what I was going to ask. You can't isolate it once you select it again.
Can you isolate it once you select it inside of dYNAMO? Yes, you could. Yeah, because it is based on the element ID. So here we're going to select a bunch of them. I'm sorry?
That assumes you know the element ID in Revit.
That assumes you know the element ID in Revit. You don't need to know the element ID in Revit, really. dYNAMO will keep track of it. So I selected all these and it grabbed all these element IDs. These should actually all be the same, so I think I can run it. And do you see this list it's creating here? It's actually creating, instead of a list of 1, it's actually creating list 0, and then it's that first column. And then that one is that's the second column, and that's the third and fourth column. Okay, so you can click multiple elements. And the question was, can you isolate this? Can you hide this? The answer is yes. So if you had all those columns selected and then you actually hid this, it would still actually see all of those columns because it's based on the element ID. Now you don't have to select that way. That's actually kind of the beginner way to select. You would actually be selecting in other kind of more fancy ways where you'd be selecting by category. You can actually select by category, where you'd be selecting all the columns by category and then filtering it that way. So there's a lot of different ways to select. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
No, wait, where's the question? No, go ahead. Well, what do you mean?
Like just now when you clicked like I don't remember what it's called, but basically when you had the node and then you were picking the object in Revit.
Mm-hmm.
So from dYNAMO, then you went to the Revit window to select, and you windowed, and it just grabbed all of those.
Yes.
That whatever you grab is what you get.
Okay. What you grab is what you get. That is correct. That is absolutely right. That flows out of this node.
Out of this node.
That's what flows out of this node. Let's say you selected those, that's what flows out of that node, absolutely. But if you wanted all the ones on the right side or the left side or whatever, then you'd have to go through an additional kind of list filter where you can actually.
So there's a list filter node? It's a more complicated thing than that, but it's very powerful. Under core, there's actually under here it's called list, and under action, you have a whole bunch of different items that you can actually use to filter and change and extract and all that. This is element ID, though you don't have to select that way. I mean, if you had columns along a certain grid and you wanted to just select the columns along that certain grid, you can actually select the columns along that certain grid by using a different method other than select model element. There's ways to do that. So selection I guess the point is selection is can be a very robust thing. I'm only showing you how to select model element, but there's other ways to select that you can really get what you need. Before the question, just real quick.
So when you touch
What are we talking about? dYNAMO.
dYNAMO.
And I think I've asked this before, though we have a lot of new people quite often. Who has gone into Revit and touched every button and every setting and every little drop down and fly out and looked at every single command possible? No? Okay, you don't know what your software can do. By the way, it can do things that you are doing in the wrong way, and it can do it in a much more procedural way. With dYNAMO, obviously, since all this stuff is very new, the same thing. You want to go into every one of these and learn what they do, because it's being developed, as Marcelo said, on the fly, right? They're updating every day. Things are adding, things are coming, things are being developed and built upon, and they don't have a spell checker or somebody who actually names the nodes what they're actually doing. In fact, Marcelo has a little, like, what, 7-minute blog post about these 4 nodes to try to get to system, family, type name, and the system family instance. And then the regular placed family types and the placed families instance. And if you watch that video, you realize, wow, those programmers don't know the language they're speaking. They're just coming up with words. Because not only were they looking for the same parameters in the 2 different kinds of families, those 2 parameters were named differently from one another, and the instance was called type and the type was called category. So it's totally, right? So you have to learn not just the commands that are there, but like then what do they do? Take it from a top-down approach. Hit the first one, find out what it does, make your little note, go to the next one. Then after, 6 hours of that, you will then be able, but I mean, yeah, you laugh. How do you learn philosophy? You don't just magically get it, you have to read.
I'd say start here with the Revit. Go through all these commands, then next do the geometry. That's what you should do. But that's how I learned it. How did I learn it? I taught myself.
And then you spread from there. But learn what those mean. Don't just cycle past them.
I think this is the point of dYNAMO. I'll get to you and to you. If you're working along in Revit and you've hit a block, consider, should I use dYNAMO to help me over the speed bump? Like, for example, the topo example. Or if you're constantly automating something where you're actually writing a number down and then writing it over here, writing it over here, and writing it over here, that doesn't need to happen. dYNAMO can help you solve those problems, okay? It can't solve every one of your problems. And dYNAMO's like your friend, okay? It's another tool to use to help your Revit experience. Does that make sense? It can't solve everything for you, all right? It's not going to create these massive add-ons that do all these crazy things. But it's very good at manipulating data, and that's what we do on a day-to-day basis. Okay? So it's very powerful, and it can help you. It can help you. I know it can help you in one form or another.
Question.
Yes.
Let's say you brilliantly set up all your pilasters to align with the bottom of a wall.
Yes.
Brilliant. What happens if either A, you decide, oh shit, I want to pull this one up, or somebody in your office doesn't realize that it's linked to dYNAMO, or I mean, I'm totally new to this, but somebody doesn't realize that these elements are controlled by dYNAMO. So they go in and pull one of those little pilasters up. What happens?
Okay, the question was, what if someone went in there in that case and actually pulled the column up?
Or you
because they're not driven, because they're driven by dYNAMO. That second statement is not completely true. They are not completely driven by dYNAMO.
Not until you hit enter. Or
not
run.
until you hit run. So in that particular case, if you're doing the modeling, you would have dYNAMO on your machine. You would open up that dYNAMO definition, which would be these. You'd run it and it would update it. Now, you close your session. Someone else is on work sharing, they open it up, and they can take that bottom of that column and they can pull it up to 5 feet when everything else was at 2 feet or matching all the walls. Okay? That can happen. If you went, the only way that would change is if you went back, opened up your session, opened up that dYNAMO definition, went back and hit run, then it would set all the columns back to the bottom of the wall.
Or let's say that I'm just trying to think of one of the double-edged swords of Revit is that everything changes. But many things can change. You make one little move, and many things can change that you don't see.
So yeah, so in that case, in that case, like I said, this
I'm
is
just,
a tool.
I'm just trying to think
Yeah,
how-
this
how
is
do-
a
how
tool
do
for you.
manage
In that
that?
particular, okay,
That's a management issue.
it's a management issue. Okay,
Okay.
like I said, Dynamo is a tool to help you do your modeling.
That's not a software issue, that's an HR issue.
Okay.
If you
all right.
wanted to do that, and you would need to tell your team, because if you're not talking to your team and you're not telling them, you're setting them all equal,
Okay,
you've got bigger problems.
That's
Okay,
what I
wait,
figured.
you've got bigger problems. Now, what you can do, if you already have that definition set up, and that particular column needs to move up, you can remove it from that list of elements. So whenever it gets run, that selection of elements, so whenever it gets ran, it will not update that particular case. That's a way around it.
Okay.
Does that help?
I'm just thinking of a situation where maybe even you, or maybe me, I'm sitting there, I pull the thing up 4 feet for whatever reason, great. Client calls up and says, you know what, we're going to make the floor to floor another 6 inches higher, so you can pull the wall down, run that routine. You forgot that one column that you pulled up manually.
That's an HR issue, man.
Okay.
That is not software.
And you forgot because you did it, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, then, I mean, Dynamo's not at the core of that issue.
It's a management issue.
It's management.
It's communication.
So I have to be completely clear on this because it's a little foggy, and I understand. Dynamo is a tool to help your Revit modeling and documentation experience.
Right.
That's what it is. Just imagine it being part of Dynamo. Okay?
The
You will, I mean, part of Revit.
Revit saved us half a day.
It's part of Revit. Think about it that way. Because you could do that same thing in vanilla Revit and you didn't have Dynamo, you could still have that same problem where someone went in and entered all these things manually and someone pulled it and be like, hey, why did you pull? You got the same issue. So yes, is it another layer of things you need to manage? Yeah, sure. But is it another tool that's going to greatly enhance your ability to model and get over hurdles within Revit? Absolutely.
Plus, the more it builds into your workflow, it becomes
So yeah. So what I want everyone here to be, I know a lot of people are leaving, is that Dynamo really should be just a part of your Revit experience. And it's going to keep developing fast. And you want to be telling all your friends that you know it, you want to get it on your resume, because it's the future. It's the future. So get out, start laying some notes down like this, and then get it on your resume that you know Dynamo, because it's the future. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. So, you know, just want to let everybody know, thank you for staying late. And if you want to hang out, we're at least here for a little while we break things down. So if you want to ask other questions and, you know, all that, but thank you. Get on track. And you know, it speaks, what your questions kind of speak to the same thing, right? Software isn't, we can't live in idiocy. And that's, I think, more what your question was talking about, is like, oh, this person doesn't know they pretty well. That's a talk in the conference room. They do it twice, they're fighting.
I guess all I was observing is that for me right now, that brown box is extremely full. It's as simple as that. Once it becomes the core of Revit, it's going to be as familiar as anything else.
Sure. And just start, you know, with one thing.
And I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer for you other than how do you feel comfortable? Did you remember? Yeah, go ahead. You remember those model lines we modeled in? Where we actually set the work plane, we click the top, and then hold it down, and then we clicked on that curve, we hit run, it sent that curve to Dynamo. Okay, we didn't have to build that inside of Dynamo. The question is, why didn't you build that curve inside of Dynamo? We've never been that.
How would you reference it?
Well, the answer is, you want to build a geometry in Revit, or you want to build it? You want to do it now. It is completely, wait, it's completely up to you, and even me personally, there's times when I'm doing Dynamo,